Right now, as you're watching this, around 60,000 songs are being uploaded to Spotify. By the time this video ends, a few hundred new games will have appeared on Steam. Amazon already has 350 million products, and that number grew while I said this sentence. And here's the thing nobody talks about. Your brain is the same brain humans had 100,000 years ago. Same 16 waking hours, same 2 eyes, same limited attention. The shelf got infinite. You didn't. Let me take you back to a world that no longer exists. A medieval village had one baker, one blacksmith, maybe one tailor. You didn't choose your baker, there was one. Discovery took zero effort because supply was scarce. Competition barely existed. If you made bread, people ate your bread. Not because it was the best bread in the world, but because it was the bread. For most of human history, this was normal. The problem was scarcity. Not enough stuff. Not enough books, not enough music, not enough things to buy. If you were a craftsman and you made something decent, you survived because demand exceeded supply. The world was hungry for products. Then the Industrial Revolution changed production, but distribution stayed physical. You could make 10,000 shoes in a factory, but you could only sell them within shipping distance. Geography was a natural filter. Your shoe shop on Main Street competed with maybe 2 others in town. The shelf was physically limited, and that limitation protected you. The 20th century brought mass media, radio, television, retail chains. Now one product could reach millions, but the bottleneck just flipped. Shelf space and broadcast time became the scarce resource. Getting into a store, getting a TV ad slot, getting a record deal, these were the hard gates. Few products, massive audiences. If you got through the gate, you won. And then the internet removed the gates entirely. Suddenly there was infinite shelf space. No gatekeeper at the bookstore, no record label saying no, no TV executive deciding your show doesn't air. Sounds utopian, right? And for about 10 to 15 years, it genuinely was. The early App Store, early YouTube, early Etsy, early Amazon Marketplace. Supply was still low because most people hadn't figured out how to use these tools yet. If you made an app in 2009, people found it. If you uploaded a video in 2007, people watched it. Not because you were brilliant, but because the ratio was insane. Millions of eyeballs, almost nothing to look at. That golden window is closed. It's not coming back. Here's what happened. The cost of creation collapsed. In 2008, making an app required a team of engineers. Making a book required a publisher. Making music required a studio. Now one person with a laptop can do all of these things before lunch. When creation cost drops to near zero, supply explodes. But human attention stays fixed. There are still only 24 hours in a day. Still 2 eyes per person. Distribution became free, but attention didn't. That's the core paradox. The tools democratized faster than demand grew. Canva, Kindle Direct Publishing, Shopify, Unity, GarageBand. Every year it gets easier to produce and list things. But the number of humans who want to buy children's books or indie games didn't grow at the same rate. So you get this growing imbalance between what's being created and what anyone could ever consume. And here's the thing that makes this structural and not cyclical. Products accumulate but don't expire. A song from 2005 still competes with your song from today on Spotify. GTA 5, released in 2013, still outsells most new games. The Gruffalo, published in 1999, still sits on bookstore shelves next to your debut picture book. Every year, the back catalog grows. New creators don't just compete with this year's output. They compete with everything ever made that's still available. In physical retail, old stock eventually got cleared out. Digitally, it lives forever. So each year, more creators, plus more tools, plus the accumulated catalog of everything ever made, versus the exact same amount of human attention. The math only goes one direction. Let's make this concrete. Imagine tomorrow there are only 1,000 humans left on Earth, but every product ever made still exists. Spotify has 100 million songs. That's 100,000 songs per person. Netflix has thousands of shows. Amazon has 350 million products. That's 350,000 products per person. Nobody would ever discover your indie game, your book, your song. Not because it's bad, but because a single human lifetime isn't long enough to even scroll through the titles. The entire concept of competing for attention becomes absurd. You're not competing against other creators. You're competing against the entire accumulated output of human civilization for a sliver of someone's finite day. And here's the uncomfortable part. We're closer to that scenario than we think. Not in population, but in ratio. The product-to-attention ratio is already approaching absurdity. In the 1960s, 5,000 albums were released per year. Today, over 100,000 tracks are uploaded to streaming platforms every single day. That's a 7,000-fold increase in 60 years. On Steam, 1,700 games were released in 2013. By 2016, nearly 40% of all games that had ever existed on the platform had been released that year alone. And it's only accelerated since. Now you might be thinking, people have always said this. Every generation thinks they've reached the peak. In 1486, advisors told the Spanish crown that it was unlikely anyone could find unknown lands of value centuries after creation. The famous quote about everything being invented already, supposedly from 1899, has been repeated endlessly. And those people were wrong, spectacularly wrong. But here's why this time the argument is fundamentally different. Those people were talking about innovation. They were wrong about the supply side. They underestimated human creativity. What we're talking about is the demand side, and the demand side is bounded by biology. Nobody is saying we can't invent new things. We absolutely can. The question is whether anyone will notice. You can invent a brilliant new art style, but you're adding category number 101 to a list nobody can track. You can create a stunning new music genre, but it enters a library of 100 million songs where most listeners just replay the same 30 tracks they already know. The paradox of choice research makes this painfully clear. In a famous experiment, a supermarket set up two tasting booths. One had 24 types of jam, the other had 6. The big display attracted more people, but only 3% of them actually bought anything. At the small display, 30% bought, 10 times the conversion rate from fewer options. More choice didn't mean more satisfaction. It meant paralysis. Apply this to gift giving and it gets even more visceral. Remember when getting a book for Christmas was special? That worked because you might not have had the means or access to buy it yourself. The gift was a window into something otherwise unavailable. Now everyone with a smartphone has instant access to everything. What do you give someone who can order anything on earth with 2 taps? The act of choosing from 350 million options becomes a source of anxiety, not joy. And the person receiving it knows there were 350 million alternatives. The whole ritual is quietly breaking down. Research shows that experienced gifts, concerts, trips, cooking classes consistently make people happier than objects. Because experiences can't be compared, can't be copied, can't be found on Amazon. The NFT story proves this from another angle. The entire premise of NFTs was solving the digital scarcity problem. Digital things are worthless because they're infinitely copyable. So let's make them unique through blockchain. Artificial scarcity, the first crypto stamp from the Austrian Post in 2019, sold out in days. Complete sets went for $1,000 on eBay. It was special because it was first. Then they made version 2, 3, 4, gold editions, art editions, joint editions with the Netherlands. And everyone else made NFTs too. From 38 million NFTs in 2021 to 1.34 billion by 2025, the market collapsed by over 90%. 98% of NFT drops in 2024 were unprofitable. The irony is staggering. NFTs were supposed to solve the problem of digital abundance. Instead, they proved that you can't create artificial scarcity when the creation of scarcity itself is infinitely scalable. The rarity of one NFT means nothing when anyone can mint rare NFTs. The scarcity just shifted one level up to the only resource that was actually scarce all along, human attention. So people found a workaround. If the product shelf is too crowded, maybe the answer isn't making better products. Maybe it's becoming the person who tells others what's worth their time. This is the logic behind the explosion of reaction content on YouTube. React channels are human curation algorithms. You don't search for content anymore. You watch your guy. He shows you what matters. You trust his filter. And this worked brilliantly for a while. But then the exact same pattern repeated. The curator layer itself got flooded. There are now hundreds of React channels all reacting to the same viral video on the same day. The genre that was born as an answer to content overload is drowning in its own overload. The curators need curators. And how deep does that nesting go? This reveals a devastating pattern. Every solution to abundance becomes abundant itself. Too many products led to marketplaces. Too many products on marketplaces led to algorithms. Algorithms showing only winners led to human curators. Too many curators led to what? Each meta layer collapses under its own weight. There is no stable solution because the tools that solve the problem are the same tools that recreate it one level up. And then there's short-form content, which takes everything I've described and puts it on fast forward. Someone invents a format on TikTok, a particular transition, a storytelling hook, a reaction style, and within 48 hours, thousands of people have copied it. Within a week, it's been done to death. Within 2 weeks, people are making ironic versions. Within a month, it's labeled slop. The entire life cycle that used to take a generation for a music genre or an art movement now plays out in less time than it takes to get a package delivered. And here's what's truly broken. The slop label arrives faster than organic discovery. By the time the algorithm serves a trend to a normal person with a job and a life, the early adopters have already declared it dead. You discover something and it's already over. The window between fresh and cringe has shrunk to essentially zero for anyone who isn't chronically online. This puts creators on an impossible treadmill. In the old world, if you innovated, you could ride that wave for years. The Beatles had a decade. Early YouTubers had formats that worked for years. Now you innovate something on Monday. By Wednesday, 12 people did it better. By Friday, the AI version exists. By next Monday, it's a React compilation. By next Wednesday, people comment, "This trend needs to die." The reward for innovation has collapsed from years of advantage to hours of advantage. Creator burnout isn't a mystery. We're asking humans to permanently outrun a copying machine that moves at the speed of the internet. Look at the historical compression. The printing press made books abundant. It took centuries to feel saturated. Radio made music abundant. Took decades. The internet made everything abundant. Took years. Social media made content abundant. Took months. Short form made trends abundant. Takes days. AI will make creation abundant. That will take hours. Each step compresses the cycle further. The innovation to slop pipeline keeps getting shorter, and maybe this explains why so many people are retreating to the past. In 2019, Blizzard released World of Warcraft Classic, the same game from 2004. Worse graphics, fewer features, clunkier mechanics. Millions of people chose it over the modern version with 20 years of improvements. The standard explanation is nostalgia.
You think you do, but you don't.
But I think it's deeper than that. WoW in 2004 felt special, partly because there wasn't much else. The MMO space was nearly empty. You picked WoW and committed because there was no reason to wonder if something better existed. Today, modern WoW competes with thousands of games across dozens of platforms. Even if it's objectively better, the experience of playing it is worse because you're constantly aware of alternatives. Every hour in WoW is an hour you're not spending on one of 15 other games you haven't even opened yet. WoW Classic doesn't take people back to 2004's game. It tries to take them back to 2004's attention environment, a world where you could love something without drowning in alternatives. This pattern is everywhere. People rewatch The Office for the 12th time instead of starting a new show. They replay Skyrim instead of trying one of 500 new RPGs. They listen to the same songs on repeat despite having 100 million available. This isn't laziness. It's a rational response to overload. When choosing something new costs cognitive energy and carries the risk of disappointment, the safe bet is going back to something proven. The paradox is that infinite choice produces repetitive behavior. More options lead to less exploration, not more. Now add AI to all of this. We're about to see production costs drop not by 50 or 80%, but by 95 to 99%. One person can produce a children's book with AI illustrations in a day, a game prototype in a weekend, a full album in a week. Amazon already had to cap self-published uploads because the flood of AI-generated books was overwhelming. And this is just the beginning. If the pre-AI era already crossed the attention threshold, AI doesn't just push us further past it. It makes the entire concept of competing through production meaningless. When anyone can produce anything, production has zero signaling value. Making a book no longer signals dedication or skill, because a machine can do it in minutes. Every solution people suggest runs into the same wall. Find a niche, niches fill faster than ever. Build a personal brand, the creator economy is itself oversaturated. Create a new category, it gets flooded within months. Use AI tools to produce more, everyone else is using the same tools. Maybe the real lesson is that we need to fundamentally rethink what creating is for. For most of human history, creation wasn't commercial. People carved wood, sang songs, told stories, built things for their community, for meaning, for joy. The idea that every creative act should be monetizable is actually very recent, maybe 200 years old. We might be returning to a world where creating is something you do because you're human, and your income comes from something else. Or maybe the answer is even simpler. Maybe the people going back to WoW Classic, rewatching old shows, listening to vinyl, buying from the one bookshop owner who actually reads what she sells, maybe they figured something out. The only things that can't be devalued by abundance are the things that were never about abundance in the first place. Human connection, shared experience, trust, presence. The woodcarver at the Christmas market isn't competing with Amazon. He's offering something Amazon structurally cannot. A person in front of you, making something with their hands, telling you the story behind it. That doesn't scale, and that's exactly the point. The printing press didn't kill storytelling around a fire. Spotify didn't kill live music. Amazon didn't kill the farmer's market. The things that survive infinite abundance are the things that refuse to scale. Maybe that's where we're heading. A world where the global digital shelf is so impossibly crowded that the only remaining value is local, personal, and human. Full circle, back to the village baker. Not because we failed to progress, but because we progressed so far that we accidentally proved what mattered all along. We haven't run out of things to invent. We've run out of attention to give them.